NBA playoffs, Harris, just around the corner. So we're going to take you through the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. Here's how the playoff picture currently sits out in the Eastern Conference. And for the most part, you got your 8 teams. It's a matter of the seedings.
It is a matter of the seedings because the Pistons and the Hornets are so far out of contention. But I got to say, if you're the NBA and you're looking at how everything shook out, you're pretty pissed at these matchups because all these matchups are honestly not that great. You have Yanis versus the Raptors, so you're going to see Yanis get blown out of the first round. That's not going to happen. We wanted to see Yanis versus LeBron in a full series. You wanted to see maybe the 76ers take on the Celtics. That would have been a really fun series. Maybe you go Raptors versus the Heat. You get a little Dwayne Wade versus DeMar DeRozan, who's the modern-day Dwayne Wade, so you would have had another fun matchup. But for the most part, not a lot of exciting stuff, but you obviously start with the Raptors at that 1 seed. They've had a great season so far. They plan on taking the Bucks on at the 8 seed. They've had just such a great season as an overall team. The shooting's been up. The passing's been fantastic. Their defense has been great. I'm really excited to see what this Raptors team does in the playoffs. I think this is finally the year, Tom, that they actually make a difference in the playoffs. I think they at least make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
You keep telling me that this is the year it's different for Toronto. I've heard the same things for several years now about the Washington Nationals. Heard the same thing about the Virginia Cavaliers. If Virginia's accurate, maybe the Bucks upset the Toronto Raptors in the first round of playoffs.
I will say this, though. Never, ever think against the team that has the best player in a playoff series. And if, however many times the Bucks get blown out of the first round, it doesn't matter. They go into it with a chance because of Giannis. But this Raptors team overall, they've been so consistent this year. They've been such a smart overall team. They're healthy. They're deep. They're led by a great coach in Dwayne Casey, who isn't the NBA Coach of the Year. He's not the Coach of the Year this year. You have to give it to Brad Stevens with all the injuries they've dealt with this year and being able to still come out with the 2 seed in the East. But, look, this is a great Raptors team. This is the best team that they've had. This is the best team.
Agreed.
They might end up winning 60 overall games this year, which no one saw coming for the Raptors.
True.
They're going to lose under 25 games, something, again, that no one else saw coming. So this has been a great season for the Raptors. Really a almost franchise altering season for this team. No one saw this coming.
Let's move on to that 4-5 matchup. As it sits right now, of course, the 76ers and the Indiana Pacers there. Only separated by a half game. The Wizards and Heat actually not that far. Between the Cavs, not that far. But so there could be some fluctuation in terms of where these teams end up. But the Sixers, if everyone's healthy, could be a threat.
And they very well will be a threat. And also because now, guess who's back? Now Markelle Fultz is back. They're trying to get him at least 10 games. He's going to be coming off the bench for them as kind of a pseudo 6-man, 7th man, depending on how the rest of their rotation works out. But this 76ers team has been playing really nice basketball over the past couple of weeks. They've really found their stride, how the offense is supposed to look. Ben Simmons is incredibly comfortable right now in the offense. He's breaking Sixers records for most triple-doubles in a season since Wilt Chamberlain. He looks fantastic, but they're also going against a really good team in the Indiana Pacers, who, to be totally honest, I think are the surprise of the NBA this year. I know that the Rockets have been great. We thought they were going to be good, but there has been very few teams in the NBA who have been as big of a surprise as the Indiana Pacers. Oladipo's been great. Sabonis has been great. Miles Turner's really turned around in the past month or so. This is a really full, deep, well-coached team, and I still think they're getting a little underrated. This isn't just going to be a Sixers shoe-in sweep of a series. This is a tough team to beat at home. This is a really tough team to put away on the road. I think this Pacers team is going to make a little bit of noise in the playoffs. I think the Sixers would win this series, but I like this Pacers team a little bit more than other people.
I was very critical of the Pacers' move to trade away Paul George because I did not think they got enough back. I thought best case scenario, they're going to be like a 7 or an 8 seed. Now, clearly I was wrong about that because they are a game out of the number 3 seed, which as of right now belongs to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they could face the Washington Wizards. The Cavs, Harris, they have locked up their playoff berth, so they're not going to miss it or anything. All 5 of those top seeds have. But they got to figure out some of that defense. We know the offense is great.
And I've been banging the table for months, Downey, that the whole entire roster can't play defense. And it's bad. Like, this isn't just something cute anymore that, oh, look, the Cavs' defense is bad. Like, this isn't cute anymore. They're bad at defense. They're giving up crazy amounts of points to the Nets and to the Wizards and like all these teams that don't have great offenses. They're giving up so many points a game. Now, credit, we might be in the middle of maybe LeBron James' best season of all time, and I'm sorry, Rockets fans out there. I really do believe that LeBron James should win the MVP this year. I'm sorry. He's been absolutely incredible. But at the same time, you got to watch out for this defense. If John Wall comes back for the Wizards, which right now he's expected to, we don't know yet, but at the same time, we got to find out what this Cavs team has in terms of their overall defensive style. How are they going to stop Bradley Beal? How are they going to stop Otto Porter? And how are they going to stop John Wall? They have not shown any ability overall to slow down guards. They're horrible against the pick and roll. They're not great against covering the perimeter either. This team does not have a defensive strength. I think they're in big trouble no matter what playoff series they're in. But they still have LeBron, so who really knows what's going to happen anyway?
The Wizards, Harris, what do you make of their chances to beat the Cavs or any team if they end up getting a lower rank seed?
I think the Cavs are probably the worst overall matchup for them. I think they match up great with the 76ers, being able to do a lot of pick and roll with John Wall, get John Wall on Embiid, get Bradley Beal on Ben Simmons, kind of mix those guys around and try to get some matchups on the other end. But the Cavs actually match up pretty well with the Wizards in terms of just how their players overall stack out. It would be a lot more helpful if the Cavs still had Iman Shumpert, who they obviously traded away to the Kings for Rodney Hood. But I still think this Cavs team will beat the Wizards at least in the first round. But we'll see what happens in the second round because that defense is only going to hold up for such a long time.
All right, then your 2 seed as it sits right now, the Boston Celtics, not that far behind the Raptors, but a pretty noticeable lead over the Cavs, so they're going to be one of those first 2 seeds. The Heat are the 7. They could try and get into maybe one of those top seeds. We'll start with the Celtics, though, Harris. How much can they do with Kyrie Irving not quite 100% right now?
He isn't quite 100%, but the good news is that the rest of the team is getting healthy at the exact right time, almost as if they got a prolonged rest in the middle of the season. Jaylen Brown came out like a bat out of hell last night when he hit that game-winning shot against the Utah Jazz, which you'll see later in Boom, by the way. But look, they've all gotten healthy. Al Horford is now healthy. He regained his health from his sickness. Jaylen Brown is back. Jason Tatum is back. The only person they're still waiting on is Kyrie Irving and Marcus Smart, who both are expected to come back for the start of the playoffs. They think that Kyrie might miss the first week of the playoffs, but it doesn't matter because scary Terry Rozier has been amazing this year and arguably has been maybe the best backup point guard in the entire NBA. He has been lights out for the Celtics and been one of the most important players to any team in all of basketball. But it all comes down to this. Can Brad Stevens duplicate his playoff performance of last year? Because before last year, Brad Stevens' teams were not good playoff teams. They kept losing in the first round and the second round. They wouldn't make a dent against teams with star players. Teams. That's fair. But now they have a great team. This team's goal was to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals. If they don't, it's a disappointment. So this team needs health, and I think they're going to move on. But they do have a tough first-round matchup against the Heat. This is a team that's really found its stride on offense. Dwayne Wade has been a huge help for them. Josh Richardson's been great. Dragic has been good. Hassan Whiteside has been good as well, though his play has been not as good as it's been in years past. But this Heat team, it's a tough team to beat because they're so well coached. If this year has really kind of personified anything, it's that Eric Spoelstra is one of the top 5 coaches maybe in the entire NBA. The performance that he's put on with a bunch of nobodies has been spectacular. Before Goran Dragic got in because of a bunch of rando injuries in the Eastern Conference, they were the only playoff team that would have not had an all-star, which is incredible to say in a league where stars are everything. So now you have Dwayne Wade come in. Josh Richardson's been good. They have a lot of really good players on their bench as well. I think this team is going to be a tough out for the Celtics, but they just don't have enough scoring.
All right, folks, we want to know from you, which is the best team in the Eastern Conference? Is it the Raptors, the Cavs, Celtics, or other? Put in the comment section. Harris, I will continue to say it. The Cavs will get it going in the playoffs on defense, and they will be your Eastern Conference representative.
They may very well be, but until they can prove to me that they can play defense, I'm going with the Raptors. They've been the best team in the Eastern Conference all season long. I don't know how you can deny that. This has been a special team for the Raptors, and it sucks because the entire attention on the Eastern Conference is always on LeBron. But if LeBron wasn't in the East and we had a thing to focus on, we'd be focusing on the fact that the Raptors have been putting up just historic numbers for their franchise. This is the best team that they've had since Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter. This is one of the best teams in their franchise history. I think it's time for them.
All right, we'll take a brief discussion here of the 2 teams not yet eliminated in the Eastern Conference. There are very much 3 tiers in the East. You've got your playoff teams, your tankers, and then the 2 teams here, Pistons and the Hornets, where they're stuck in mediocrity, right where you don't want to be. They are technically alive, but they have very limited chances of actually making the postseason.
Yeah, the Detroit Pistons are literally the definition of mediocrity, and I just feel bad for Kemba Walker. Get that man in the playoffs. He's only been in 2 years of his 7 years in the NBA.
So to the Western Conference now here as well. But before we do that, folks, we want to remind you Today's show is brought to you by Man Crates. If you know a guy that needs an awesome gift, you got to get him a Man Crate at mancrates.com. The NBA barware is perfect for all you NBA fans out there.
It is, and also you get the crowbar. You can just crack that box open. You feel like a man, a lot of testosterone. It's really fun. I love the crowbar. I got to steal one of those.
All right, Western Conference playoff picture time now. Your number one seed, and really kind of running away with it in reality, the Houston Rockets. As of right now, they're set to face the Jazz, and we'll discuss this more with the Jazz and other teams, but very much some uncertain pictures really throughout much of the Western Conference, but the Rockets, very clear number one seed.
Yeah, and we don't really know what the final playoff picture for the West is going to be.
It's a lot of possibility for changes there.
A lot
of
different seeding changes as well. You could see the T-Wolves and the Spurs jump around along with the Pelicans and the Thunder. They could all completely switch seed. You can see the T-Wolves as the 4 seed with the Thunder as the 7 seed with the Blazers as the 5. You have no idea what our final seeds are going to be, but for the most part, it comes down to this Houston Rockets team. This is not just a great team. This is a 61-win Houston Rockets team with the MVP on it with Chris Paul. This is a fantastic basketball team. I don't even think Daryl Morey thought that this team was going to be good in his wildest of dreams.
Good as this.
It's incredible what we've seen from this team in terms of their transformation from last year to this year. Chris Paul has been a perfect fit with James Harden. The experiment has worked even more so than what they thought. Clint Capella has been great as well, but they are going up against a decent opponent in the Utah Jazz. This is no pushover of a basketball team. This is one of the best defensive basketball teams that the sport has to offer. Rudy Gobert should win the Defensive Player of the Year. He has been amazing for about the last half of the season since he's gotten healthy. Donovan Mitchell's been really good. Ricky Rubio's having a great season as well. Jay Crowder's been great since he's got traded there. This is a tough Jazz team. I don't think they're going to stand up against the Rockets, but they're going to give them a couple of tough games here and there. They're going to be a real tough out for the Rockets. They're going to smoke them at home, but you got to go into Utah and you got to face Rudy Gobert down low. That is no easy feat. So good for the Jazz of making it back to the playoffs without Gordon Hayward, but they're just running into the buzzsaw that is the Houston Rockets.
Jazz, of course, not clinched a berth yet. The Clippers, Nuggets, not far behind whatsoever. The 4 and the 5 seeds have also not clinched playoff berths yet. We'll start with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Harris, for me, got to lessen what Carmelo Anthony's been doing. He's been shooting way too much. He has not looked good lately.
What did I tell you? I told you the second half key with the Oklahoma City Thunder was don't let Melo retake control. And what happened? They let Melo start taking more shots, and the team started to struggle. This has been the streakiest team in the entire NBA all season long. They have no idea what they're supposed to do on offense or defense. They got the defense figured out. Then Andre Roberson got hurt, and now the defense is in complete shambles again. They've had a nice player in Corey Brewer who's shored up their bench a little bit in terms of what they've been able to do on the wing, but this is a good Thunder team that has at least been able to find their rhythm in terms of overall stars. I think that Russell Westbrook's been having kind of a weird season by his measure, but now they have to go up against I don't think they've gone into a lot of situations this year where they don't have the best player on the floor. There are very few teams that the Thunder will face on a day-to-day basis where they don't have the best overall team, but in this case, their best player on the court is Anthony Davis for the New Orleans Pelicans. That's the best player on the court. I'm sorry, Russell Westbrook. Anthony Davis, at least from my angle, is better than you. And he's been what's made the New Orleans Pelicans so unbelievable this year. They're one of the best teams in the NBA in terms of the second half of the season. I can't wait to see what happens with this Pelicans team. It's just they finally got to the playoffs. Anthony Davis is playing his best basketball ever. This is the best that we've ever seen Anthony Davis, and that is saying something. They are a fierce, fierce team, and I can't wait to see what happens with Anthony Davis in the playoffs. This, at least in my opinion, is the best first-round matchup we have. Russell Westbrook and Paul George versus Anthony Davis. That is primetime television whenever it's on, so I can't wait for this matchup if it ends up staying because, again, the T-Wolves could still end up being the 4 seed. We don't know.
So you kind of been hinting at this throughout the Western Conference preview where the playoff picture is very much uncertain. The 3-6 match, I think, is a great example of that. Yeah. The Blazers, as the 3 seed right now, have not even technically clinched a playoff berth. Now, they're going to make the playoffs. They haven't clinched one yet, though. And then you got the Spurs as the 6th seed. They've got a 2-game lead. If they lose that, they're actually out of the postseason. They are right on the cusp.
This has been the weirdest season in Greg Popovich's tenure with the Spurs because while the team is still kind of up in the air, they're still first in defense, and they still have no idea what's going on with Kawhi, and they're still so good. I think the problem with the Spurs team is that they've just never been able to get going. Whenever they finally start to get a little momentum, someone gets injured or something goes wrong or someone goes down and misses a couple games and this and that, and now we're seeing them struggle. LaMarcus Aldridge missed a couple games in the second half of the year, and they had a really big fall off with losing almost 10 games. They had another big fall off, obviously, when Kawhi came back and then left. Then Tony Parker had injuries, and Manu couldn't get it going. And now they're in the playoffs. They're matched up against maybe the worst possible overall matchup for them in the Portland Trailblazers with a Damian Lillard who, we said this about Anthony Davis, we have never seen Damian Lillard play better basketball than he is right now. He has been sensational. And if this was any other year where you don't have LeBron James at 33 years old putting up his best season ever and James Harden leading a 61-win Rockets team, Damian Lillard is your MVP in any other year where you don't have two of the best seasons of all time. That's how good of a season he's been having. This is the Blazers team they've been waiting for. But the problem is, the Warriors are still here. James Harden, the Rockets are still here. Anthony Davis is in the West. Jimmy Butler's going to be back for the playoffs, along with Karl Anthony Towns, who just set the Timberwolves' all-time record for most points in a game with 56. So it's unfortunate for the Blazers, but with how well Damian Lillard's been playing, they're going to beat the Spurs in the first round handedly. They have no answer for Damian Lillard on the defensive end.
Well, let's look now to that 2-7 matchup. We start with the Golden State Warriors. They're not going to be your 1 seed, but they've also been riddled with injuries this season.
It doesn't matter. Look, you go back and look at those Miami Heat teams. They didn't get the first in the East every single year. It doesn't really match up until until home court advantage way at the end of the playoffs when they end up taking on the Rockets. But look, Durant is coming back, I believe, tonight. Yeah, tonight's Thursday, so Durant should be coming back. Clay's going to be coming back this weekend. Draymond Green at this point is just dealing with an illness, so he should be back soon. And we know that Steph Curry is going to miss the first round of the playoffs, but it doesn't really matter. They can beat the T-Wolves without Steph Curry. They still have Durant. They still have Clay. They still have Draymond. They still have a deep bench, and they still have Steve Kerr. This has been a weird year for the Warriors. This will probably go down as the worst regular season of the Warriors dynasty, just with all the injuries and everything, but eventually this was going to happen. They have had unprecedented levels of health the past 3 years, never seen anything like it with all of them staying healthy. Klay Thompson never missed more than 5 games in a season in his career until this year. Draymond Green, same exact story. And then obviously last year they had the Kevin Durant injury, but that was the only thing that they've had in 4 years. So the buck finally stopped. They got some injuries, and now they face the T-Wolves, a team that is still learning what they're capable of. You see Andrew Wiggins, he's still incredibly timid. You see Jimmy Butler basically being a second coach from the bench right now. One of the toughest guys in the NBA. I don't know how the heck he's going to be coming back from that injury that he had. And you still have Karl Anthony Towns, who I don't even think he understands how good he can still be. He's not quite there yet in terms of his overall production level, but when he's at his best, he's going to drop 56, 16 and 8 on you, which he did yesterday. So watch out for this T-Wolves team in the playoffs. They're not quite there. I think they're hoping and praying that they win 3 games and get matched up with the Thunder, because the T-Wolves could definitely beat the Thunder. If the Pelicans get matched up with the Warriors again, I think Anthony Davis is just going to ask for a trade at the end of the season. That's the 3rd year in a row that they've ended up with the Steph Curry Warriors, and the 3rd year that they're going to get knocked out of the first round. So they're pretty pissed at this point.
All right. Unlike the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference teams that have not been eliminated are actually very much in the mix. We'll start with the Los Angeles Clippers. They sit just 1 game back of 8th place in the Western Conference, despite making a lot of moves.
I am stunned that this Clippers team has done anything this year with the amount of injuries that they've had. They traded their best player on the entire team in Blake Griffin. They didn't have Patrick Beverley for almost the entire season. Danilo Gallinari, the entire season has looked like he doesn't actually want to play basketball and just wants to rake in checks and live in L.A., which he's been doing this entire season, mind you. DeAndre Jordan has looked incredibly sad all season long. Austin Rivers is playing hero ball for the past 6 months, and it's been going terribly. And yet, they're 1 game out of a playoff spot. I never would have seen this coming. I thought this Clippers team was done when they traded Blake, but Tobias Harris has been a savior for them. Boban Marjanovic has been great for them as well when he's been called on. Milos Teodosic is finally back, and he's been distributing the ball at unprecedented levels this season. So, look, this Clippers team finally got healthy at the end of the year, and they've started to do some business.
7 games left for the Clippers. Some key matchups here. They play the Blazers tomorrow. I don't know if they're going to win that game. Then they host the Pacers.
That's a rough schedule.
Then some key games that they are going to need. The Spurs, another playoff
huge game.
Bubble team. They play the Jazz, the team. They're 1 game back.
Utah.
Then they get the Denver Nuggets.
At home.
And that brings us to our next team, the Denver Nuggets. There, 2 games back of 8th place, currently and 10th in the West.
I am massively disappointed in this Nuggets team. If you go back to our last power rankings, I said that this Nuggets team was going to be one of the best second-half teams in basketball.
And I believed you.
And you know what? You should have, because what should have happened with the Nuggets is that they should have gotten Paul Millsap back and become one of the 5 best offensive teams in basketball. And instead, Tom, they got worse. Somehow, they added Paul Millsap along with the rest of the team, with Jokic, with Jamal Murray, with the rest of those guys. They traded away Emmanuel Mudiay, and they somehow got worse. So I wonder if it's a coaching issue. I wonder if it's a rotation issue. I wonder if maybe the guards overall just aren't as good as we expected. But for the most part, this has been a huge disappointment for a Nuggets team. This should be a 6 seed. This should be a 6 seed Nuggets team. Paul Millsap, Jokic, Jamal Murray, Gary Harris. This should be a 6 seed. But for now, they've just been having problems.
Right. Best team in the Western Conference. You going with Houston?
I'm going with the Rockets. I know that the Warriors are the Warriors.
It's going to be Warriors-Cavs in the finals. So it always is, baby.
The Warriors and the Rockets, when they were both healthy on the court at the same time, the Rockets weren't healthy. They didn't have Chris Paul. The Rockets won. So this isn't just a Rockets team that the Warriors are going to roll over in the playoffs. This is a legitimate NBA threat to what a team that everyone thought was going to win 5 straight titles. This Rockets team is legit.
All right, let's go to the Western Conference and with this particular weigh-in. Which of the playoff bubble teams won't make the postseason? We feel confident it's going to be Pistons, Hornets in the East. Who are the 2 teams that get left out in the West?
I think the Nuggets are going to get left out. I just don't think they have it left in the tank. I think the Clippers are actually going to end up making the playoffs. I think the Jazz are going to miss out. I think that they're just not going to have that final push. They need Donovan Mitchell to win 3 games for them. He's won a bunch of games so far this season, but they need a couple more games out of him in order to really drive them into the playoff.